Welcome to AI Movie Reviews, the critique series where artificial intelligence meets cinematic analysis. In this episode, we take on Him, the 2025 psychological horror sports hybrid that's left audiences divided and critics conflicted. Produced by Jordan Peele and directed by Justin Tipping, Him explores ambition, fame, and dread through the eyes of a rising football star. This is your AI-powered critique. Let's break it down.
Welcome back to The Critique. This time, we're looking at an analysis of audience and critic reactions to that very divisive sports horror film, Him, from 2025.
A really fascinating mix of responses on that one.
Definitely. So let's dive straight in. The material really makes a strong case that the film's structural problems started with, managing expectations around its pretty radical genre blend.
Yeah.
A big hurdle the analysis flags is the friction from mashing up art house, sports, and horror. It seems like the approach didn't quite satisfy any one group.
It tried to be too many things.
Exactly. And you see that clearly in the critic versus audience scores, right? 29% from critics, but 58% from the audience. That's quite a gap.
That is a huge gap, and it just screams a failure in setting up that initial contract with the audience, doesn't it?
It does.
When you see that kind of split, it suggests, the film structurally confused the people who really know genre conventions, even if maybe it resonated emotionally with some viewers.
Yeah, the analysis breaks that down. It shows that by trying to be a horror film for football fans and a football film for horror fans, neither side felt fully served.
Predictable, maybe?
Perhaps. Football viewers apparently question the realism, the QB's special treatment, not much actual gameplay shown. Meanwhile, horror fans felt it was more atmospheric and moody than outright scary.
Right, expecting maybe sharper twists or a bigger narrative payoff, especially with Jordan Peele producing.
Exactly. That name carries weight, so the genre promises felt diluted.
Okay, so the core weakness is trying to please everyone and satisfying no one fully, especially early on. The fix, I think, has to be about clarity and commitment. To make a niche hybrid like this work, you've got to commit much faster, much harder to the specific unsettling tone that tells the audience, this isn't what you expect.
Get weird faster?
Pretty much. And the suggestion here is to use that fantastic supporting cast to signal the shift right from the get-go. They were praised, right? So use them as tonal signposts.
How would that work specifically?
Well, instead of that slow build-up, that Alice in Wonderland vibe unfolding gradually, use Marlon Wayans or Jim Jeffries immediately.
Okay.
Wayans got kudos for that, like Whiplash, J.K. Simmons intensity. Jeffries for his dark, sardonic humor. Integrate that into the early training scenes when Cam first arrives.
So right away you see the strangeness.
Exactly. Show Wayans being unpredictably intense, or Jeffries dropping some unsettlingly funny, inappropriate comment during drills. It immediately tells the audience, forget realism, this is about psychological pressure, like a sports cult.
It sets a totally different contract.
It sets a clear, non-negotiable tone. You establish the rules of this world up front.
That's a really smart way to use performance structurally, not just for character. Telling the audience, expect a fever dream, not Friday Night Lights.
Precisely.
Okay, so moving from genre expectations to the film's visuals, the analysis also consistently highlights how the ambitious spectacle, the heavy metaphors, sometimes came at the cost of narrative clarity.
The style over substance critique.
That exact phrase came up. We saw notes that even reviewers who liked the look, comparisons to Very Cremaster or Tron Legacy, which is high praise visually.
High praise indeed.
Even they admitted feeling a little lost or maybe dumb because there wasn't much hand-holding.
Right.
And that ambiguity really hurt the ending, apparently. It failed to pay off the stakes that were set up, especially this idea of the sacrifice Cam was supposed to make.
Yeah, that's the danger with high-concept, symbolic stuff.
If the audience gets lost in the metaphor, frustration builds, especially if it doesn't feel emotionally grounded.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're tackling big themes, idolatry, cults, sacrifice, drawing on Christian lore as the analysis mentions, you absolutely have to anchor that metaphor in the protagonist's explicit emotional or, physical reality. Make it concrete for us.
So what's the weakness in the actionable fix there?
The core weakness is Cam's emotional journey, feeling a bit thin. The material notes he's asked what he'll sacrifice, but like you said, we don't really see him give up anything that feels truly significant to him.
Okay.
So, the suggestion is, make his internal struggle visible or audible. Tie it directly to those gorgeous visuals everyone talks about.
Give me an example.
Okay, those cool X-ray shots showing his physical injuries?
Yeah, very striking.
Make those moments coincide directly with moments where he makes an ethical compromise, or when he's really starting to break psychologically. The visual style then isn't just cool, it's showing us the cost. It's visual evidence of his internal decay.
Linking the aesthetic directly to the character's inner state.
Exactly. Or, another way, really lean into the daddy issues mentioned in the analysis. If we clearly connect his idolization of the coach, White, to that need for approval in the first couple of acts, then maybe the more ambiguous, surreal third act feels earned. It becomes a manifestation of his very human psychological needs.
So the style becomes substance, essentially.
It transforms it from decoration into something emotionally meaningful.
Making this spectacle mean something for the character. That falls nicely into our third point, actually. Ensuring the film's significant themes don't get drowned out by that very dedication to visual perfection.
The risk of the message getting lost in the medium.
Precisely. The analysis points out the film does introduce potent themes. The dark side of football, CTE, hypermasculinity, the racial dynamics of the QB position. Important stuff.
Really relevant critiques.
But reviewers mentioned the focus on making every frame look like a print-ready photo. The constant stylistic flair, some called it a glorified music video, often distracted from that social commentary. And that's a problem when you're tackling heavy subjects, right? Like the critique mentioned about white supremacy embedded in institutions. If the style shouts too loud, the substance gets whispered.
Yeah. The ambition gets undermined if people only talk about the cinematography afterward, not the ideas.
So the critique is the style overshadows the substance?
That's it. Aesthetic brilliance doesn't achieve its potential if it isn't actively supporting the so what of the film. The suggestion here is to ensure those technical elements everyone praised, particularly the sound design and cinematography, are active storytelling tools. They need to reinforce the themes, not just decorate the screen.
Okay. How can they make that more concrete?
Well, let's focus on the sound, since it was apparently a real highlight. The analysis mentioned wall-to-wall excellent sound design and effective use of silence being very creepy.
Yeah, those were consistent points.
So, the suggestion is integrate sound manipulation more directly. Use it when Cam is dealing with the physical brutality or the intense psychological pressure.
Like what?
Maybe auditory hallucinations, distorted voices during intense coaching moments, or using that extreme silence to specifically externalize his internal breakdown. You could even try linking specific sound distortions directly to potential CTE symptoms the brain trauma the film touches on.
Ah, so the sound becomes a symptom.
Exactly. It makes the technical skill functional. It becomes evidence of the psychological horror and the physical toll. The sound isn't just atmosphere, it's driving home the thematic breakdown of the athlete.
Turning spectacle into evidence.
And then the aesthetic amplifies the social critique instead of potentially overshadowing it.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, I think that covers the three main areas we wanted to dig into for improving the project's structure and impact.
Yeah, feels like we covered the core issues.
So, just to quickly recap for the filmmaker listening, first, we talked about sharpening that genre contract. The issue was the divided audience. And the suggestion was using those intense comedic actors like Wayans and Jeffries much earlier to set a really specific, unsettling tone right away. Manage those expectations up front.
Yup, commit to the weirdness sooner. Second was narrative clarity versus the surreal visuals, the risk of losing the audience.
Right. And the suggestion there was to anchor the surrealism by explicitly visualizing Cam's internal cost, tying those cool X-ray effects or other stylized visuals directly to his psychological state or ethical compromises. Make us see the sacrifice.
Make the style serve the character's journey. And finally, thematic focus, ensuring the important social critiques aren't lost.
Yes. And the actionable step was leveraging that excellent sound design. Connect sound manipulation, distortion, silence directly to the psychological collapse, maybe even hinting at CTE. Make the tech reinforce the theme.
Turning the sound from just atmosphere into thematic evidence. Yeah, I think integrating these structural tweaks could really help bridge that critic-audience gap. It helps ensure the film's ambition lands more effectively.
Absolutely. These steps could help elevate a film that's currently seen as divisive into something more consistently challenging and structurally sound. It's about making all the impressive parts work together seamlessly.
Well put.
So we strongly encourage the listener to think about this feedback, maybe integrate some of these ideas, and please do send the updated material back for a follow-up. We're always keen to see ambitious projects like this evolve.
Definitely. Good luck with the revisions.
That wraps up this AI-powered critique from AI Movie Reviews. If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe for more cinematic analyses, from psychological thrillers to cult classics and everything in between. You'll find every episode at AIPodcastingNetwork.com or wherever you listen to your favorite shows. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time for another AI-generated critique of the silver screen.